Hello, I'm Maya, and welcome back to week 3 of painting Pokemon every day of July. I'm following this prompt list and just making paintings of Pokemon with general beachy and summery vibes. This is a pretty long one, so get comfy, join along, and draw with me if you like. But let's get started. If you are particularly observant, you may have noticed that on day 15 of my prompt list, the word is break. And I don't have a Pokemon listed because it's a rest day. So today I wanted to go to my local Dick Blick and get some more paints because I'm running low on ultramarine blue and lemon yellow. It's funny, the only paints I've replaced so far on my palette are blues and yellows, which happen to be my favorite colors. I think I might have a bias. But let's go. There's also something else going on this week. I live in Milwaukee and the RNC is in town. If you're not American or just have no idea what that is, it's the Republican National Conference. So there are a bunch of conservative government people and Republican fans in town, which sounds terrible, and I thought it was going to be too, but it actually hasn't been that busy. The only difference I've noticed is the helicopter that is constantly circling the sky all day, and will continue to do so until Thursday this week. So this is my art haul. I went in just to get those 2 paint colors, but I came out with some extra things. I ended up getting this pencil extender because some of my colored pencils are tiny, and because of that, I also got new colored pencils. Those 2 colors I use the most, like, look at how small they are. Let's try out the pencil extender. And here I am struggling to get the pencil out of the package. I also struggled to take the pencil out of the extender. I found out there's a metal ring you can slide down or up to adjust how tight the pencil is in there. But hey, look at that. It works. I think it'll be comfy. I think it's good. Good investment. And of course, ultramarine blue and a lemon yellow. And the way I like to use my paints is I like to just put them back in the pan like how they were in the beginning. I rarely put my paints on the palette. It's just what I'm used to at this point. But I'll let those dry overnight so that they're ready to use tomorrow. And then there is one other thing I must do today. I have to plan a little bit for the art market I'll be going to on the 28th of this month. If you're in the Milwaukee area, please consider stopping by and checking out my booth. It'll be at Discovery World from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And there'll be so many other cool local artists in attendance too, so please, seriously, stop by. But here's the list and my plan for my booth setup. I've done one other booth before and it looked like this. I plan to keep it mostly the same, just making some minor tweaks. I also plan to be selling these original paintings that I'm doing in this very challenge at this event, as well as prints of these paintings. So I need to sign, title, and mat some of these originals. I'll probably also be redesigning my signs too. But for now, it's just a to-do list. I'll actually be doing most of these things next week. Yes, last second, but for now, this week, let's paint. I really like the ritual of setting up the paint. It preps me and gets me in the mindset to start painting. I try to do this while not listening to a video or music. Sometimes the videos just distract me. And this is my patented erasing technique. I like to do little dabs sometimes to get a more precise area, but not, tear up the paper with an eraser. The rolling technique is also really good for this, but sometimes when you roll, it just like erases all the areas you don't want it to. So in these instances, a dab will do ya. Having a favorite Pokemon is hard. A favorite anything is hard. Like, for example, I don't have a favorite animal. They're really all my favorite. And I say my favorite color is yellow, but not always. I wouldn't dye my hair yellow. It's a conditional love. But it's funny I can choose things I don't like. Like, I could say I don't like Lantern, the Pokemon. But I bet if I had it on my team for a whole game, I could become endeared to it. That's what happened to me with Bidoof and Bibarel. So when I say my favorite Pokemon, it's kind of a loose approximation of what I know I like. So my favorite Pokemon is Appletun. It's just so cute. It has eyes under what you think are its ears. I love it. And it's a pie. It has a cool evolution gimmick. Flapple is kind of mid, but Diplin and Hydrapple are cool too. Also, I didn't play the DLC for Scarlet and Violet, so I don't know what goes on, but this is a monstrosity. But Ogerpon and Poltergeist make up for it. I do love me some matcha, and they are peak designs. And such a cool idea for a Japanese variant of Sinistee. While painting this, I realized that I've never actually read the description of Appletun. And let me tell ya, the descriptions need to chill out. Like, okay, this one's wholesome. For Shield, it says, its body is covered in sweet nectar, and the skin on its back is especially yummy. Children used to have it as a snack. Used to have it as a snack implies that it's like, people don't do that anymore. Which, maybe because they were like killing the Appletuns? I don't know. And the description in Scarlet says that Appletun would eat the small bugs that are attracted to the sweet nectar. So, that makes sense. Putting the Pokemon in a real-world environment, I like that. Violet, however, says, when Lechonk come along to lick the sweet nectar on Appletun's back, Appletun will spew sticky nectar at them to drive them away. I think they need to chill here. The use of the words spew and sticky, lick, guys, come on. But that's not even the worst of it. The Gigantamax for Sword's description is, it blasts its opponent with massive amounts of sweet, sticky nectar, drowning them under the deluge. Guys, children play these games. Chill out. Chill. Sorry, I just thought those were really funny. But I'm doing the finishing highlights of this painting, so let's do the reveal soon. And if you're wondering what kind of pencil I use this kind. And look at this little firefly that's trapped in my window. Watercolor is kind of funny. I think the way I and lots of other people function, I need to hype myself up to do a task, and I usually put it off for so long that I start to dread doing it. But when I do muster up the will to paint, like right now, then I have to wait like 15 plus minutes for it to dry until I can paint again. And it's very humid in my apartment, so it feels like it takes even longer. But while I wait for it to dry, I try to do something else. So here I'm having some lunch. And isn't it such a chronic Gen Z thing to have lunch while you watch YouTube videos? I've been doing that for like more than half of my life. Sometimes I save a video I'm excited about for when I have like a yummy meal to eat it with. I kind of feel exposed saying this, it's slightly embarrassing, but I'm sure lots of other people do that too, right? Please tell me I'm not alone. But about this painting, because I'm painting many Pokémon that have a wide range of colors, and really with no clear color scheme, I laid down that light yellow base, hoping that it'll help unify all the colors just a little bit more. Also, a little peek into my inspiration for this piece. On Instagram, I think I have a great Reels algorithm. Like, they almost always hit. That algorithm is like crack. But one day, it recommended me someone who ties flies. If you don't know what a fly is, I barely do either. But I think it's very similar to a fishing lure, but like it's only on the hook. And I've heard of fly fishing, but I have no idea how they're related. But back to this person. Their name is She Ties Flies on Instagram and YouTube. She makes ASMR style videos of her making flies. I'm not so into the ASMR aspect, but the craft of tying flies is so interesting. Her videos literally have me on the edge of my seat with my face like 5 inches from the screen. Some of my favorites that she's made is a bumblebee, an X-variant cicada, which is awesome and so specific, a crab, a grub, and recently a mouse. Like what? That's so cool. It truly is an art. I'm not much of a crafty person nowadays. I usually stick to drawing on paper or a screen. But whenever I make a tangible, durable thing, I usually can't believe that I made it. Like my puppet for Bud's flowers, sometimes I look at him and I'm just blown away. Like, how did I even do that? But about this painting, I decided to go with flies and lures. I felt like flies were slightly limiting. Like, for example, how would I create the round body of Magikarp in fly form? I'm sure there's a way, but I'm just not that knowledgeable, I guess. I tried to choose simple Pokemon and kept the flies for more wispy Pokemon, you know, the kind that look like they could be made out of pipe cleaners and twine and feathers. And doing Love Disc made me laugh because it's just so simple. Physically, I'm not sure how the construction of some of these would exist in the real world. Like the Magikarp one's whiskers? I don't know how you would do that. Like, would you carve them out of wood? Or maybe use string or something? I don't know. But if you make lures or flies, you are more than welcome to try and make these and fish with them. That would make my day, my week, my year, my century if you did that. If you actually do it, please like tag me on Instagram. Please. But we're nearing the end of this, so let's do the reveal. With a word like Nocturnal, I could have easily painted something summery. Like right now, I just thought of something. What if I painted like a Zigzagoon digging in someone's trash at night with glowing red or white eyes, like someone shining a flashlight at them? Kind of like a real nocturnal animal. But I did not do that. Instead, I made a spooky scene with some other Pokemon that I thought were probably nocturnal. Don't get me wrong, I love summer. But sometimes I can't resist the spooky autumn vibes. So I gave in. I drew a Pumpkaboo, a Lampent, a Drifloon, and a Mimikyu up to no good. Seriously, if you see this squad walking/floating down the street at night, like, run. The definitions of these Pokemon are so disturbing that it's kind of funny to me. For Mimikyu, if you look under their disguise, it's so disturbing, terrifying, and shocking that it could kill you. And they have killed some scholar in the past who made the mistake of looking under its cloth. Lampent catches lost souls and uses them to fuel the fire inside of it. Some even seek recently deceased people to capture their soul right away, and even wanders through the cities looking for someone who looks close to death. So if an elderly or sick person has a Lampent around, you should be worried for them. Pumpkaboo carries spirits inside of it similarly to Lampent. They fuel the fire inside of it, but it's a bit more wholesome. Apparently they carry the spirits to the afterlife so they can move on. And lastly, Drifloon, which looks like a balloon. And who loves balloons? Children. It's said that they lure children into the woods, or when they're held like a balloon, they can carry children away. Sometimes entries say they're small enough that they don't succeed in taking the children, and are instead carried around like a balloon. Others say children holding onto them sometimes vanish, so maybe the kids just have to be light enough. But it doesn't say what they do with the children once they vanish. Which leads me to believe, despite these sounding so scary, they kind of sound like urban legends made up to scare kids. Like for Mimikyu, some descriptions say it was a scholar that died, others say a scientist. This one says, a gust of wind revealed what hides under the Pokemon's rag to a passing trainer, who went home and died painfully that very night. This sounds like the consistency of an urban legend to me. It doesn't say why they died, it's just vague and kind of weird. But this does make me question the validity of other Pokemon descriptions. And it's also a thing that every single game, they rewrite the descriptions. And sometimes they change based on the region. Like some regions will bring up different things, which is creative and cool, but it definitely feels like they're just maybe not so factual or accurate. But it is kind of cool to have an unreliable narrator for these descriptions. I feel like it makes the world more believable because, in our world, we don't have accurate descriptions of every animal. There's no one description that a tiger has. There's lots of different sources that will probably all say different things about a tiger. So maybe this squad would tag team kill you and then steal your soul, or maybe they're just harmless, and I'm kind of leaning towards the harmless, because there's just regular people who have these as Pokemon and aren't dying all the time, I think. But this painting's almost finished. All I have left is the colored pencils, so let's reveal it. I couldn't decide if I wanted this piece to be warm or cool-toned. I could see an argument for both. Or maybe I could do a combination. A cool outdoor light and a warm indoor light with cool highlights. But then I noticed how most of the Pokemon in this image are blue or cool-toned. So then I wanted to lean into the cool tones. And with that decided, I chose to try a warm yellow or pinkish moon with warm highlights. I did a digital color test to play with the colors, so this is what I'm aiming for. I know the digital colors are always more vibrant and punchy though, so I'm trying to temper my expectations. Something you'll see me doing a lot in this painting is glazing, which is basically when you paint one layer, you let it dry, and then you paint over it again with a darker layer. And this is commonly used to, create a darker image, but also kind of create like a glowy, luminous effect. If I actually achieved that, I'm not sure. And really, with this painting, I'm kind of at the point where I can't tell if I'm reaching the limits of watercolor or if my skills are holding me back. As I'm recording this, I know how this piece turns out and I think it's good. But I want to take my watercolors to the next level. And I really don't know how to get there. For example, my number one traditional art influence is Heikala. I love their work so much. The subject matters, the stories they tell with their illustrations, and the execution are all lovely, just like magical. They build up colors amazingly, and their gradients are so smooth. They achieve dramatic and moody scenes without it getting muddy. I know they use watercolors and achieve these things, I just couldn't at the moment. I'm really thinking I have to do like a watercolor training arc sometime. And I have a feeling I need to get a better handle on water control, like how much water to use and when. Similarly, water and pigment balance, blending colors like gradients and whatnot, and also my brush handling. I tend to be really sloppy with that, which is something that carries over into multiple mediums. One time I had a teacher tell me in an oil painting class I took, she was like, if you just like painted more neatly, you could be really good at painting. She was like, why don't you do that more often? And at the time, I said that I like the more like impressionistic and loose style, which is true. I do love being loose, but it definitely comes at a detriment, and I think at a certain point I'm really just being lazy. I could try harder. If I'm remembering it correctly, I think I painted one painting like pretty carefully and like accurately to real life, which was it was a still life of like random fruits and vegetables. And that was the one. She was like, this one's really good, you should do this more. And I was like, but what if I didn't though? And I know for the rest of that whole class, I continued to not paint like that at all. I kept my loose brush strokes and, it makes me happy. I think when I try to be too exact and perfect to real life, it stresses me out. Like, I could do it, yes, but I might chop a few years off of my lifespan. And I mean, that's not why I paint. I paint to have fun. So I guess this is the crossroads I'm at. Do I lean into my lazy habits that make me happy, or do I strive to improve my paintings at the cost of some discomfort and probably unhappiness every once in a while? But these are questions that I can ponder on a different day. This painting's almost done. Here's the reveal. The prompt for today is Sorry, I couldn't help but insert that ancient, crusty old meme. But anyways, I originally pictured this painting to still have the Swampert swimming in front of the boat, but I thought I was going to put an Ampharos in the ship. One, because I love Ampharos, and two, because I thought the yellow would contrast nicely with the blue water. But the more I thought about it, maybe having an electric type in the boat is a hazard, and I realized people absolutely love the Mudkip evolution line, so I went with them. The way I said that, it sounded like I don't like Mudkip. I do, I just don't have that personal connection with them. I actually never played Gen 3, but if I did, I would probably struggle to choose between Mudkip and Trico. I think the weird little lizard guy would call to me, but I do like Mudkip's evolutions a lot more. I'm also a big proponent of quadruped Pokemon, and I really respect that they keep the whole Mudkip family on their dang feet. But Trico's design is an acceptable bipedal design, in my opinion. And Torchic is super cute, but Combuskin? I had to look up that Pokemon's name. I didn't know it. But Combuskin kind of freaks me out. Sometimes the line between Pokemon and human gets kind of blurry when they can stand on 2 feet and talk. Like, at that point, these things should have jobs and, like, contribute to society. I actually think it would be super cool if they did a game plot that was like the Mewtwo concept, but like even further. I want them to start experimenting with combining human and Pokemon DNA. Can you imagine, like, a Pokemon villain group that thinks that humans and Pokemon should have combined DNA for some reason? Maybe, like, the villain of that group has become corrupt and altered their own DNA. They could be a scientist, and maybe, like, they had some kind of science accident that has combined them with a Pokemon. They're a bit monstrous and begin to think that the future of humanity is genetic alterations that make us stronger and even closer to our beloved Pokemon. Imagine if in the final battle, you battle their Pokemon, and right when you beat their last one, you think you've won. But it's not over. You have to battle the villain themselves. I wonder what moves they would know. Oh no, imagine if they were the legendary that you could catch. This would all be way too dark for this franchise to ever do, but that would be so cool. I would pay for this, but I'll stop writing my own fanfic because this has nothing to do with these cute sailing Pokemon in their boat. But I do wonder, like, what Pokemon would that villain be combined with? And would the villain grunts also be combined? Maybe they would have, like, much less alterations. Maybe they would just kind of be, like, subtle furries with, like, Pikachu ears and stuff. But the villain would be a lot more scary. Or maybe the Pokemon that they're combined with is this game's legendary. Possibly they were trying to get this legendary because it has, like, some kind of crazy powers that they want to be combined with. This would be cool. Has this been done already? I feel like it has. I don't think so, though. Not to this extent. Okay, sorry. I'm actually done talking about this, but I'm painting these guys. Look at me go. Also, there's just a random dude in this boat. I was originally gonna, like, make him, like, a fisherman trainer or sailor maybe, but I just made it some dude. He's just a guy with sunglasses. But this is the end of this painting, so let me show you the final result. It is Sunday, last day of the week. I must say, this may have been the single most difficult word on this prompt list, at least for me. Wobble is a word that implies motion. It's a verb after all. It's hard to show something wobbling in a one-frame illustration. I kept thinking if only I could animate it. But now I'm thinking about the horrors of a 31-day animation challenge. I truly had no ideas for this day. So I had to go Pokemon first. I was going to choose a Pokémon and just figure out a way to convey Wobble. I decided on Flygon because I like Flygon. You can't go wrong with a Flygon. I thought about showing it flying, or maybe balancing on something and looking like it was wobbling. But I realized it didn't need to be so complicated. I could just make its body all wobbly. I kinda stretched the word to mean wiggly, but whatever. I tried to keep the line of action on the Flygon all wiggly and silly. I think I could have pushed the wiggle a little more, but I wanted to keep it mostly on Model 2. It was super fun to draw it though. I like how I gave it this dumpy little butt with its feet just splayed out. I also really like how Flygon kind of has the autistic T-Rex arms. I think it adds a lot of character. Also, the little red goggle-like things that cover its eyes are so cool. I was very excited to paint those. I really do love to paint anything that is transparent or interacts with light interestingly. But you know what doesn't interact with light? My apartment. There's no light in here. I live in a cave, so on this day I had to go outside and take some pictures of all of these paintings I've done. And while I was out there, I came across this little jumping spider. I rarely ever see them in the wild, but whenever I do, it does feel like they always find me, and they're always curious about what I'm doing and just checking it out. Also, I think that was a jumping spider. I'm not 100% sure, but the way it was acting, it reminded me of one. But about this painting, really, it was very simple. I had 2 shades of green and red, and that was all the colors I needed, and the techniques I did were also very simple. Nothing fancy, just putting down the colors, dragging it, trying to get the pool of water to be where I think it would be the darkest. And that was really it. So, I don't have much to say about it, so I will just let this play out and then do the reveal at the end. And that's the end of this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you drew along with me, tag me on Instagram at Pumpkin Pancakes. I'd love to see what you did, and I'll share it on my story. Let me know which painting was your favorite from this week in the comments. If you missed it, check out last week's video where I did the second week of this challenge, and consider liking and subscribing. Okay, bye. Goodbye. Have a good week. Bye.